I was sitting on the edge of a hotel bed, still in my blazer, when the text came in. "You need to see this. I'm sorry, Jenna." I didn't even think before clicking the link. Just muscle memory. I figured it was some video from the family dinner I missed. Maybe one of the kids doing something cute, or my uncle telling another recycled story. What I wasn't expecting was to see my mother, wine glass in hand, sitting at the head of our dining table, throwing verbal darts at me for laughs. "Oh, Brielle," she said, voice thick with mockery. "She thinks selling houses makes her a success now. Couldn't cut it in nursing school, remember? And now she's just floating. Pitiful." Laughter from my aunt, my uncle, a few cousins around the table. She smiled. I didn't move. My legs wouldn't work. I sat there in that pristine conference hotel room, granite countertops, beige carpets, everything beige, and watched my own mother humiliate me like I was some sad character she'd outgrown. Like she wasn't the reason I left nursing school in the first place. And the worst part, she had no idea she was being filmed. That's what made it real. Jenna's camera had been tucked low, probably just meant to capture casual family vibes for her social media channel. But it caught everything. The sneer, the eye roll, the cruel chuckle as my mother clinked her glass and moved on to talk about someone else's kid who actually made something of themselves. I was 33 years old. I paid her insurance, her medications, her mortgage top-up. I hadn't taken a vacation in 5 years, and I still sent her grocery money every single month. And yet, in that moment, sitting in a 5-star hotel room after giving a talk at a real estate conference, I felt like a complete nobody. No worse, I felt like a fool. I'd been telling myself for years that her sharpness, her criticism, her coldness, they were just symptoms of pain. That the illness had made her bitter, not that she was bitter. That when she said things like, "Some people just aren't built for real achievement," she didn't mean me. Not really. I told myself I was imagining things. That she loved me in her own way. That underneath all her disappointment was someone proud of what I'd done for her. That video shattered every single lie I'd been holding onto. And still, I just sat there. The TV in the room played some muted HGTV episode. Something about flipping houses. The irony was so sharp it almost made me laugh. I'd sold 4 homes that month. Negotiated 3 bidding wars. I was exhausted and stretched thin, and somehow still invisible to the one person I'd given up everything for. My phone buzzed again. "Jenna." I didn't realize what she was saying until it was too late. "Do you want me to take it down?" I didn't respond right away. I stared at the screen for a long time, watching my mother swirl her wine and smirk like she was auditioning for some role. She was comfortable trashing me, relaxed, entertained even. And all I could think was, this wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a bad moment. This was who she really was when I wasn't around to hear it. I finally typed out a reply. "No, leave it up. I'll be home tomorrow." That was it. No emotion, no fight. Just a line in the sand. I didn't sleep that night. I kept the video playing on loop, not because I wanted to hurt myself, but because I needed to feel it this time. All of it. No more excusing, no more rationalizing. I sat on the floor with my laptop open and pulled out a folder from my bag, the one I used every year during tax season. It was labeled Mom Medical, receipts, co-pays, appointment schedules, bank statements, itemized summaries. The kind of folder you build when you think it'll all be worth it someday. When you think that proving your worth will finally earn you something back. But in that hotel room, as the light from the TV flickered on my face and my mom's laughter played on a loop from my phone, I realized something. I wasn't her daughter. I was her excuse, her scapegoat, her crutch, and I was done. The drive back from Providence was a blur. I barely remembered packing, barely remembered checking out of the hotel. I just remember gripping the steering wheel too tight and hearing my mother's voice looping in my head. "She just sells houses now. Pathetic." I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just kept replaying that moment at the table. The casual way she said it. The way my aunt sipped her wine and laughed along like it was just true. Like of course Brielle was the family disappointment. By the time I pulled into my driveway, I had already decided. I wasn't going to explain myself anymore. I wasn't going to ask her to see me. I was going to show her exactly what I'd been carrying, and then I was going to drop it. The first text came in that evening. "Where were you today?" My appointment was at 9:30. Then, "They said my insurance card was declined. Fix this." And finally, answer your damn phone, Brielle. I stared at those messages with a strange sense of calm, like watching the storm build outside while you're safe behind double-paned glass. I didn't reply. Instead, I laid everything out on my dining room table. Every bill, every receipt, 5 years of financial records from the moment I paused nursing school to the last prescription refill I'd picked up for her. It was all there. Every time she'd sighed dramatically about never being able to afford treatment, and I'd said, "Don't worry, I've got it." Every pharmacy run, every payment when insurance fell short, every late-night call to Blue Cross arguing coverage, every missed date, every canceled weekend trip, every silent compromise. I organized everything into a spreadsheet, labeled the tabs, categorized the totals, color-coded the dates. It came out to $486.73, not counting lost tuition, not counting interest, not counting my time. The next morning, I called her insurance provider and asked to be removed as the guarantor. "Miss Maddox, are you sure, without your contribution, her premiums will increase and some coverage may lapse?" "I'm sure," I said. "Would you like her to be notified?" "Yes, in writing." I gave them her home address. After I hung up, I sat there for a second and realized I felt light, not guilty, not scared, just weightless. She had no idea what was coming. But for the first time in 5 years, I did. I didn't show up to her next appointment either. I let the silence do the talking, and the fallout began almost immediately. Jenna texted me from the coffee shop on Maple. "Whenever you're ready." I met her with the folder. She didn't even try to hide the guilt in her face. "I'm so sorry, Brielle. I didn't know it would go like that. I was just filming dinner for content, and then Aunt Celeste." "Stop," I said. "You did me a favor." I opened the folder on the table. She leaned over it, her eyes scanning the numbers. "Holy crap," she whispered. "This is, Brielle, this is thousands." "Over 100,000, I said. "And that's just what I documented." She looked up. Her expression was shifting from shame to anger. "And she called you a failure." "Repeatedly," I said. "Mocked my career, laughed at my degree. This woman who hasn't paid her own copay since 2017. I pulled out the email draft on my laptop. "To the entire extended family, subject FYI, regarding mom attachment itemized support document. Link unlisted live stream video. No emotion, just facts." "I'm sending it tonight," I said. Jenna looked stunned. "You're not even going to call her first." I shook my head. What would be the point? She'd just lie or deflect or make it about her pain again. "But she's your—" "Exactly." And she used that word like a leash. The email went out that night, and by morning, my phone was melting. "Aunt Darlene, how dare you shame your own mother, Uncle Ted? This is between you and her. Don't drag the family into it. Cousin Leah. This feels vindictive, Brielle." Only 2 people responded with empathy. "Jenna, proud of you. Let me know if you need backup." And shockingly, Aunt Bridget. "It takes courage to stand up for yourself, dear. If you ever want to talk, I'm here." Everyone else either unfriended me, sent me passive-aggressive scripture, or ghosted me completely. I started blocking numbers, muted group chats, deleted message threads I'd read too many times. The silence felt peaceful. Then came the knock on my door. I knew before I even looked. She was standing on the porch, arms crossed, cane in one hand, drama thick in her posture. My mother, Celeste Maddox, the woman who once cried in a hospital bed and asked me to never let her suffer alone. "Open this door," she barked. I didn't move. "Brielle, I know you're in there. You missed my refill. The insurance is a mess. What the hell are you doing?" I answered through the door. "I'm done, Mom. You'll be getting a letter from the provider. Read it carefully." "What are you talking about?" "This is about money. This is about everything." She tried guilt next. "After everything I've done for you, this is how you treat me." I almost laughed. "You mean, after everything I did for you, you're right. It is how I treat you now." I walked away. She screamed something about betrayal. I closed my laptop and turned on music. That night, I slept the full 8 hours for the first time in 2 years. She moved in with Aunt Darlene by the end of the week. I found out through Jenna. Apparently, she told everyone I was having a breakdown, said I was under too much pressure from my failing business. She hadn't seen my listings in months, had no idea I'd closed 4 deals in the past 30 days. She just needed to control the narrative. But I didn't care anymore. Let her, let them. I wasn't playing defense anymore. I was finally building something of my own. 3 weeks passed. My mother hadn't called. Not once. But her shadow was everywhere. Uncle Ted sent one of those long Facebook messages about how family doesn't give up on each other. My cousin Leah kept posting vague Instagram stories about ungrateful people and how some folks rewrite history to play the victim. And still I stayed silent. Until the ambush. I was just finishing a showing in Brookline, a gorgeous colonial, with white shutters and a cherry blossom tree in full bloom when I saw them. Standing by the curb, like they'd been waiting for hours, my mother and Aunt Darlene. She was leaning heavily on her cane, though I knew for a fact she didn't need it when no one was watching. "Brielle," she called out, sickly sweet. "We need to talk." My heart dropped into my stomach. I wanted to turn and walk the other way, but they had already seen me. Running would only confirm whatever story she was telling people. So I walked over. "How can I help you?" I said, setting my clipboard down on the passenger seat. Aunt Darlene stepped forward like some kind of family attorney. "Your mother's struggling, Brielle. She can't get her prescriptions. Her new doctors are useless. Her insurance is a disaster now." "Yeah," I said calmly. "That's what happens when your guarantor leaves. You have to deal with the system like everyone else." My mother narrowed her eyes. "Is that what this is? Punishment? You're mad? Because I said one thing and now you're cutting me off." "One thing," I said. "You mocked me. You laughed at me. You called me a desperate failure in front of our entire family." She blinked. "You're twisting it. I have the video, Mom." That stopped her cold. "I watched you on camera tell the whole room I was pathetic. That I sell houses for people who actually succeeded." Aunt Darlene looked confused. "What video?" My mother didn't answer. "Yeah," I said. "She didn't tell you. Jenna was filming for her channel. You didn't know that, right, Mom? You didn't know the mask slipped that night." My mother looked like she was struggling to piece together her next move. I could almost see the wheels turning. Play the victim, deny it, blame the illness. She chose tears. "I was venting," she said. "Everyone vents. I didn't know you'd see it, and I didn't mean it like that." "You meant it exactly like that." "You're my daughter," she whispered, now trembling. "After everything I've done for you." "No," I cut her off. "Let's talk about what I've done." I took a breath, not because I was unsure, but because I knew once I said it, I wasn't going to hold back. "I gave up my nursing degree for you. I sold my car to cover your first out-of-pocket treatment. I spent 5 years building a business from scratch, working 60-hour weeks just to make sure you could go to your appointments, fill your prescriptions live without fear. I paid for everything." Her eyes widened, but I wasn't done. "And every time you said thank you, which wasn't often, I clung to it like it was gold, because I thought maybe deep down you loved me enough to care." She looked away. "But now I know," I continued, "you only loved the version of me that served you, that bent over backward and kept quiet. The minute I started choosing myself, I became the villain." Aunt Darlene muttered something under her breath. I turned to her. "She's living with you now, right? How's that going? You driven her to any appointments yet? Paid any bills? Spent 3 hours on hold with her pharmacy while trying to hit work deadlines?" Darlene said nothing. "That's what I thought." I turned back to my mother. "I'm not angry anymore. I'm done. You don't get to frame this as abandonment. You got 5 years of my life. You spent them." She was crying now. Maybe real tears. I don't know, but I wasn't moved by them anymore. "This isn't over," she said, voice shaking. "No," I said. "It's just finally not mine to carry." I didn't go home right away. I drove to the harbor, sat on a bench with my sleeves rolled up, letting the wind sting my arms. I stared at the water until my throat unclenched, and then I opened my email. There it was. Subject: Boston Real Estate Association. Resilience Award finalists. I'd been nominated by my broker. I'd closed 27 deals that year, while privately managing 100K plus in medical support, rebuilding my business twice, and navigating grief guilt and gaslighting from my own family. And someone had noticed. I didn't cry, not then. But I felt it, the click. The internal lock turning. The moment where you stop fighting for a seat at someone else's table and start building your own. I clicked accept invitation to the awards night. I'd already bought the dress. The ceremony was surreal. I wore navy classic cut, sharp collar, no distractions. Clean makeup, hair pinned up. I looked like myself for the first time in years. I mingled. I networked. I smiled at people who knew me for my work, not my family drama. And when they announced my name, I actually hesitated. And the winner of the Resilience in Real Estate Award goes to Brielle Maddox. Applause. Spotlights. I stood up, legs shaking, and walked toward the stage. As I reached for the crystal trophy, my phone buzzed in my clutch. I ignored it. For once, this moment was mine. I held the mic, looked out over a ballroom full of polished, ambitious people, and said, "This isn't just about real estate. It's about survival." And sometimes survival means walking away from the people who expect you to set yourself on fire just to keep them warm. The room went still, then clapped harder. After the ceremony, I checked my phone. 5 missed calls. Jenna's name appeared in a text. "Emergency, at the hospital. She's asking for you." I sighed. Sat down in the corner of the lobby near the restroom doors. She'd fallen, new meds, dehydrated, stable but disoriented. Uncle Dan picked up the phone. "She needs you. The doctors have questions." I paused. "I'll be there in 2 hours," I said. "I had something important tonight." "This is your mother we're talking about." "No," I said gently. "She's your sister." Tonight I was Brielle. I showed up to the hospital 2 hours later, just like I said I would. No rush, no panic, no guilt. Just steady steps down that sterile hallway, like a woman who knew exactly who she was walking in and exactly what she'd leave behind walking out. She was sitting up in bed, looking surprisingly alert for someone supposedly in crisis. Her hair was a mess, and her voice was sharp the second she saw me. "Nice of you to finally show up," she snapped. I smiled, polite and untouched. "Hello, Mom," she scoffed. I collapsed. I could have died. "And you were... what? At some party?" I set my clutch down on the chair. The trophy box peeked out from the top. "Not a party," I said. "An awards ceremony." She rolled her eyes. "For what?" I pulled out the trophy crystal, glinting in the fluorescent light, and placed it quietly on the tray next to her pills. "Resilience in real estate," I said. "For maintaining a successful business while navigating personal hardship." Uncle Dan shifted in his seat. "That's impressive, Brielle. I didn't realize—" "Yeah," I said, not looking at him. "A lot of people didn't." My mother's face twisted, not sure if she should be impressed or insulted. Maybe both. "So you're here to gloat?" "No. I'm here because the hospital called and said you needed information about your medical history. I wanted to make sure you were okay." She blinked. She wasn't used to that compassion without submission. "You shouldn't have left me like that," she said, her voice softening. "I didn't know what I was doing. I was frustrated, sick." "You were cruel," I said simply. "And not just once. For years. You treated my success like a consolation prize for your disappointment. You used my loyalty like it was free currency." Uncle Dan looked like he was trying to vanish into the wall. My mom started to say something, but I held up a hand. "I'm not here to argue. I'm not here to be your daughter, your nurse, your bank account, or your audience." I stood. "I'm here because I care about people. It's who I am. And that hasn't changed even if you never really saw it." There was a long silence. I turned to Uncle Dan. "She'll be discharged tomorrow. Let me know if you need help getting her home." And I walked out, crystal in hand. That was the last time I saw her face to face. The weeks that followed were brutal in a different way. I'd gotten used to operating in crisis mode, juggling appointments, money, and emotions all at once. Now the quiet was unnerving, but also freeing. I threw myself into school. I was re-enrolled in the accelerated nursing program at Boston City. My textbooks arrived 2 days after orientation, and I devoured them like I had something to prove, not to anyone else, but to the version of me that had almost given up. Clinical rotations started fast. I was older than most of my classmates by nearly a decade, but it didn't matter. My instructor said I had stability like it was rare. I called it perspective. I knew what real pressure felt like. I'd fought insurance systems, kept my mom alive through denial letters and policy loopholes. A 12-hour shift was nothing in comparison. I also restructured my real estate business. I narrowed my client list, focused on higher-value homes, and hired a bright college student named Kylie as my part-time assistant. She handled paperwork, coordinated showings, and made sure I ate lunch, bless her. There were growing pains, missed emails, rescheduled showings, a few bad reviews, but overall, my business held. It didn't fall apart like I feared. Turns out when you stop stretching yourself thin for people who don't appreciate you, you suddenly have room for people who do. One night, after a double shift at the hospital and a closing meeting with a stubborn buyer, I collapsed onto the couch and opened my laptop. Jenna had sent me a link. You're going to want to see this. It was an article. Career switchers bring vital perspective to nursing, read the headline. My name was in the second paragraph. My photo in scrubs taken during a clinical rotation right below it. The Boston Medical Journal had interviewed me the week before about my decision to transition from real estate into healthcare. I'd assumed it would be a blip on the website, maybe a sidebar. But it had gone semi-viral. 20,000 views in 48 hours. There were comments from strangers, people who had changed careers, late caregivers, who had been manipulated by family women, who left toxic roles to chase dreams. And then there was one I wasn't expecting. You looked calm. Not happy calm. Like someone who finally isn't proving anything to anyone. It was from Aunt Bridget. I stared at it for a long time. She'd seen what I felt but couldn't name. That night I cried for the first time in months. Not out of pain, but because I'd survived long enough to finally feel again. The silence from my mother remained. No calls, no messages, no apologies. But one day my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost declined it, but something made me answer. Hello, Briella's voice said gently. It's Dan. Uncle Dan. Hey, I said cautiously. Everything okay? I just wanted to say... He paused. I saw the interview. I didn't realize how much you'd built on your own. I stayed quiet. And I'm sorry, he added. I didn't ask enough questions before. I just believed what your mom said. That you were flailing. That you couldn't handle the pressure. Yeah, I said softly. She's good at that? She saw the interview too, he added. I didn't say anything. She didn't say much after. Just sat there for a long time, holding her cane. I swallowed. I think it finally hit her, he said. That you did all of this, and she never gave you credit for a damn second of it. I closed my eyes. Thank you for telling me, I said. And I meant it. Not because I needed the closure, but because I deserved the confirmation. By mid-semester, I was thriving. Sleep-deprived, over-caffeinated, but thriving. I was passing my courses managing showings and sleeping better than I had in years. The trophy still sat on my shelf next to a framed photo of my first solo listing. And now, next to that, my nursing school acceptance letter, framed too. Every day I passed by them and thought, this is mine. All of it. Built with no backup, no shortcut. Just me. And that was enough. More than enough. The voicemail came on a Tuesday. I was between a clinical simulation and a home walkthrough in Cambridge. I checked my phone during a 5-minute break and saw the notification. You have one new voice message from Celeste Maddox. I stared at the screen. I didn't listen to it, not then. Instead, I went to my showing, smiled at the young couple touring their first home, and walked them through every corner, like I hadn't just seen my mother's name light up my phone. Later that night, after my shoes were off and my laptop was charging, I finally hit play. Hi, it's me. I know you're busy. I saw the article, the video. You look good. I'm glad you're doing well. I mean that. Pause. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was stupid. I thought if I kept you small, maybe you wouldn't leave. Silence. You left anyway. Click. No apology, no ownership, just sadness. I sat in the dark with that message echoing in my living room. And for the first time, I didn't feel angry, or vindicated, or even shaken. I felt free. She'd finally said it, maybe not everything, maybe not well, but enough for me to see her clearly. She hadn't been cruel because I failed her. She'd been cruel because I didn't. And that's when I knew I didn't need closure. I'd already outgrown the wound. A few weeks later, I ran into Aunt Darlene at the grocery store. She gave me a tight smile over the produce bins. Your mom's living with me again, she said, like it was breaking news. I know, I replied. How's that going? She's difficult. I nodded. She mentioned your article, Darlene added carefully. Picking over bell peppers. She's been quiet lately. Watches your interview a lot. Good, I said. Maybe it helps her understand what she missed. Darlene blinked, caught off guard. Look, she started, I know it got messy. But family is family, Brielle. Exactly, I said. Which is why I finally stopped letting mine hurt me. I grabbed my apples and left her standing there in silence. The final moment of closure came on accident. I was leaving class late one night, white coat slung over one shoulder, when a woman called my name. Brielle. I turned. It was Mrs. Cranston, one of my former real estate clients. I saw your video, she said breathless. I had no idea you were in nursing school now. You were the best agent we ever had. Thank you, I said, genuinely touched. You always said you wanted to help people. I guess I thought you were helping people. Just in a different way. I smiled. I said. But now I get to help them breathe. She laughed, then gave me a hug. That night, I walked home slower. Let myself feel the full weight of that journey. From crisis manager to nurse in training. From invisible daughter to recognized professional. My real revenge wasn't her watching me succeed. It was me no longer needing her to see it. I haven't spoken to my mother since the voicemail. We didn't reconcile. There was no tearful reunion, no dramatic apology. She stays quiet now. I don't know if she's waiting for me to call back or if she finally understands that I won't. And I'm okay with that. Some people don't get a second chance to hurt you no matter what DNA says. My life is full now. I juggle charting patient vitals and closing deals on historic brownstones. I meet new buyers in the morning, then help an elderly patient with their IV in the afternoon. It's a strange rhythm, but it fits me. Kylie, my assistant, keeps the real estate side of my life running smoothly. My classmates think I'm a superhero. I think I'm just someone who finally decided she was done being second. I even started teaching a part-time real estate prep course at a community center. People ask why I still do both. I tell them because I can. Because I earned the right to build a life that doesn't fit in anyone else's box. There's one last thing I did, and maybe this was my final act of letting go. I took the live stream video, the one that changed everything, and saved it to a private folder. I didn't delete it. But I don't watch it anymore. I don't need to. Because every time I walk into class, every time a patient calls me by name, every time I open a new home listing, I remember who I became after that moment. Not because of her, but in spite of her. She called me a desperate failure. That failure became everything she pretended to be and more. I used to think sacrifice would earn me love. That if I gave enough, proved enough, became enough, she'd see me. But some people only love you when you're useful. And the moment you set down their weight, they call it betrayal. The truth is, I didn't walk away to hurt her. I walked away to find me. And I did. In a white coat in a trophy case, in the quiet peace of not needing anyone's permission to matter. So I'll ask you what I finally asked myself. Are you living, or just being used?